overall on the two euro stakes, I think if there's an unknown player, you should always assume that it is recreational, because I think there are not too many regulars out there. So I would always start with some max exploits, and just if you see that it is really irregular, then adapt, right? And always make your notes. So he's raising 2.5x. This is nothing that a regular would do, so make a note. And yeah, here from the small blind versus big blind, you can also be super exploitative. I raise big with hands where I want folds from my opponent sometimes, or where I want to make the pot big. But hands that have good playability, like a6 suited or 10-9 suited, etc., I tend to do just a 2.5x when deep. And if you're getting shorter, you might even go with the min raise here and there. And here, just bet small for value and protection. Normally, you're not getting raised too much, but if you're getting raised, I think we have a pretty easy fold here. Yeah. So overall strategy is being very straightforward, betting big for value, and trying to make our bluffs, if we bluff, what I would really not recommend too often, as cheap as possible. That's very important. And here's also one situation. Here we don't want to bluff at all. Recreationals, they have super low numbers, low fold to ISO numbers. And additional to that, that's very important as well, they tend to donk as well, right? So it doesn't really, it's like a bad idea to raise 9 deuce offsuit, and we are getting called in 70% of the time. And then we also get donked, and we can't set the c-bet. Yeah, this guy was going all in all the time, so 6s is a clear call. And here I checked twice, and now on the river we have a clear value bet. Okay, I have an option to close the tables. Should have put it off, but doesn't matter too much. Okay, that's a 4x. Yeah, with unknown recreationals, it really depends on the limit. I haven't done any population reads on these stakes. I think overall you could probably get away with limping a little bit too much and c-betting a lot, but try to do it one and done only, and only second barrel if you really have a really strong draw. And then also don't bet too big, because fold with second barrel in this situation is super low. Okay, so if you have any questions, then feel free to ask. I try to explain the basics as well today, because it's more on the fundamental side. And here on the queens 10-6 suited, we're definitely getting it in on the flop. Like if she's raising, we have an overcard to the queen, and we have a flush draw, and I think we start with the c-bet. Here on the turn it's very interesting. Like the 9 is improving our opponent's range as well, and he will have a lot of draws that will just call always. And I also don't want to face a raise here on a turn, so I just try to check and try to realize my equity. Here on the, like, one cut straight is possible, but I think still we can value bet very small here to get called by one pair queen x, one pair 10x here. Yeah, like 10-8. Again, this is nothing I would ever do with regulars, but I think with recreations we can get away with these kind of plays. Just use the sizing according to your hand strength. Right, so
what about
yes?
betting big on the flop and jamming the turn?
Yeah, that's a thing I really don't want to do, because my opponent will just overcall a little bit too much on a turn, right? So if he has some kind of mid pair or something, he will not fold. And what happens on a turn, like if I don't hit the flush, then the equity drops quite a lot, right? So I'm betting on a flop, and I'm happy to get it in on a flop, because on a flop I have always 50 or more % equity. But if he calls on a flop, and then on a turn there's a blank, then the equity drops to around like 25 or maybe 30%. And normally our opponents also are not willing to fold that often then, right? So I think just betting small and then checking back turn is also a little bit lower variance and has at least the same EV. This is super weird. I think I make it like a super, like, I think it's like a race of fold spot. There are a lot of draws possible, and we might actually have the best hand, but this guy is on a button. He can have stronger ace axes. He can have like, yeah, it's very easy to outdraws. Like just calling is very, very bad. I think here with the ace king, like raising super big or just going all in is the best play, in my opinion. And here, if I hit, I always check. I always check and let them do like stupid things. Like they can just be super random in this kind of spot. But after someone is checking, then normally he's not willing to bluff on future streets as well. So I'm going to for value myself. But on the flop, always checking when I hit. And here I just bet once. Definitely not folding. He can have a couple of 3x's. He can have, but he can also be totally random, and sometimes he might even bluff worse hands. Or he can value bet very thinly. Interesting. Yeah, that's very important. Like if you're playing low stakes, one of the most important things is try to break down your opponent's ranges, right? Not to think about like a certain hand, but on like overall. And in the last spot, I was pretty sure like it is very hard for him to have a 3. He might have a flush here and there, but he can also be just totally random, because recreationals love to cold call loose from the small blind, and then they also like to peel a lot, right? So if he's check calling a lot, then yeah, he can be pretty random in this pot. Here I'm not folding. We have a top pair, and he's betting into two people after everyone was checking. So
don't you want to lead on the flop
here?
Yeah. They will check so often, no?
You think so? Yeah, like if I expect my opponents to check often there, then I definitely like leading. Yes. It's not a bad spot for leading. I agree. We have a straight, but we have not the good straight, so just calling here. If we would have the better end of the one card straight, I would definitely raise. And here with the 8, I think we had a value bet on the last hand. That's an interesting spot. 6 big blinds. We have 10 unsuited. There's one behind. I think we are getting into better spots. This is plus EV, but this is like relatively marginal, right? So if this is like marginal and I have two clear recreationals, then definitely folding. And on the 2s, it's very important that you skip a lot of these marginal spots, because you will get so many gifts from your opponents that you should really try to avoid low EV spots. Yes, and also avoid like big bluffs and playing big pots with marginal hands. Like really straightforward is the key to have a super high win rate at the lower stakes. Don't try to fold out your opponent from top pair or anything like that. Okay, folding. And 6 offsuited. Okay, min ISO, there's also nothing that the regular is doing. I think we should P1. We have a club, so we have a backdoor straight draw, and we can have the best hand. And here I think there's no real need to bluff. Like we are not folding out better hands. Not really, at least not with one bet. So we're just checking here, and here we are raising. I think none of them his best. We might even go a little bit bigger here to 4 big blinds, but 3.5 is totally fine as well. Red line goes down, GBV goes up. Not necessarily, actually. Like, I have pretty high winning red line on the low stakes, and this might be a call, but the problem here is that he can easily have ace X limping, and now just jabbing. So that was my only concern. Other than that, I think we might even have had the best hand there quite often. Your red line is terrible on lows. Yeah, like there might be a couple of reasons for terrible red line, and one of the reasons might be a lot of you're betting the flop, then you're betting the turn, then you're check folding on the river, for example, right? So, or you are playing very high VPIP and you're getting isolated a lot, or you are like there are a lot of reasons, and there might be a lot of reasons to have like a high negative red line. I wouldn't worry too much about the red line. And here, this kind of spot, we're just trying to fold out a couple of random 2 cards, right? So we're just betting small. And here we still have a value bet, I think. Check and call. This might be one of the rare situations where check and the call might be good as well. Like, he might have busted draws, right? So the only hand we are beating is a 7. Okay, so in this situation he had a7, so it was a bad example, but he can have gut shots, missed overcards, missed flush draws, etc., that he might try to bluff on the river. Just gave bubble. Yes, don't try to fix the red line. This is a bad idea. I had very bad experiences in the old stable times with trying to fix red line. Just work on your game and it will fix itself at some point. And yeah, as soon as it's not like super negative, like 2 or 3 chips per hand, then it's also nothing to worry about. Going for a small dollar then, 4.5. I think also you could go a little bit smaller, like 3.5 here as well. But I would still want to raise here. And he's getting it in with ace queen, pretty standard. Yeah, and also very important is to okay, first here, yeah, here I'm folding because there's one behind. Chicken suited is not really performing too well here in this situation. When we get it in 3-way, it's okay, but not the spot I want to be in here with 2 recreationals involved. Yeah, it's very important to have a tailored solution for every opponent. So if you're playing low stakes, I would really recommend to just play 2, maybe 3 tables, or play as many tables as you can and still think, right? So if you're playing 4 tables and you don't really have a really good win rate, then like if you're playing 4 tables and you have a really good win rate, you should play on the 2s, right? So I would highly recommend to play like 1, 2, or 3 tables and focus on your opponents and try to build a strategy for every of your opponents, because they are like passive opponents, they're aggressive opponents, etc., and you need to play differently with every type of opponent. And yeah, if you're adapting very fast, then you automatically have a high win rate because you have a lot of high EV situations. King 5, it's fine to check back. I think we can just try to go and bring it to showdown. And the good thing is recreations really like they're not bluffing the 8 highs and 9 highs so often. Like he might just have, like, if he would have, for example, 9-5 here or something, he might also not bluff. Right, so I think we have a lot of showdown value with quite weak showdown value hands. And here also, I'm just checking with the plan of bluffing the river, because if he has some kind of, I don't know, 10-6, he's not going to bet on the river, and I can just get away with a very small bet. Yeah, like this is not really often a bluff, because this is what the recreations don't really do. Yeah, recreational is making it relatively expensive, so not really a hand I want to play here. I want to keep my 16.5 big blinds and not call and then potentially go down to 12 when folding the flop. Also, he doesn't seem to be super aggressive so far. Yeah, on this relatively dry board, just c-betting ones. Also, we are not really getting check raise so often from recreationals on average. That's why I like to c-bet more on the higher side. Like my c-bet is quite high with recreationals, something around like 80 to 90% with some opponents even. Yeah, it's never 100 because if someone is folding way too much, then I might check a couple of traps, etc. So it won't be ever 100%. With the 10-9 off, it might also be a limp or some like the last hand where I open jam for 11 bigs. I think limping and min-raising is fine as well. King queen suited a little bit too strong to fold for 11 big blinds here, and 8-5 suited might be a thin value bet there actually. 10-3. I think it's not even a Nash call. I'm definitely calling here with the gut shot. And here I'm again going to check and bet very small on the river, trying to represent some. Yeah, because if he has a 5, which is definitely possible, then he's not going to fold anyways, right? So this is also important, like the last hand, that you never try to bet big in these kind of situations. If you're betting 1.5 big blinds and he's not folding, he also won't fold to a pot size bet. So yeah, make it as cheap as possible. I just try to fold out a couple of 9 highs, 10 highs, jack highs, etc. Jamming is fine. I would like to have a little bit less big blinds, but pocket fours also plays fine as a call. And here we have a double gut shot. I think it's also fine to peel one. Yeah, we hit it. It's not the good one, but it's decent enough. And I don't want to go all in because I think if I go all in, he doesn't really call worse hands. So I'm betting 2 big blinds. Hope he's calling 1 or 2 pair hand here. This is Nash, a clear call, but I'm going to fold that. I think we are getting a better situation. Okay, that's not better. Next. Okay, limping the queen 5 suited. This is a note you can make. Like if you make notes, then like button, limp, queen 5 off, and then you know exactly what, like then he's way too loose, and you can isolate more as with an all-in sizing, for example. You can be pretty safe with ISO all-in with a low offsuit ace axis, for example, when you're a little bit shorter. And here, not going to second barrel, just giving up after I'm getting called. Yeah, luckily we hit the 6. But again, like second barrel is not folding out the pair. And even the third barrel might not fold out the pair. So super straightforward, just betting one time. We had enough fold equity on the flop. That was the profitable situation. And after we are getting called, we are just getting a free card. And yeah, like maybe a small bet on the river might work as well as a bluff when we not hit our pair. And yeah, definitely betting here. And again, like I don't see a reason to bet on a turn. I'm going to bet on the river if he's not betting. Just folding. You see, like I think here a lot of players would go for a second barrel, but I think if someone is going to check call on a ace 3 deuce, then on a king turn, it's actually in his range, like check call with the king high, for example. So the fold equity will be quite low.
another cool thing about not betting on the turn there versus recreationals is if we hit, we can go for an overbet on the river. So it's not exactly like we're missing a street of value because we can make up the sizing on the river because they're likely quite sticky anyway, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yes, we're not losing value. We're just reducing a little bit the variance. We can even just go all in if we're hitting on the river and we're getting called like relatively often by pretty weak hands. Okay, queen unsuited, going for the min raise. Would fold with both all ends. Yeah, that's not good enough. But that's good enough as a rejam with sevens. Getting called by sixes, fives, or fives, fours. Yeah, like after someone checks on the dry board, you can bet quite often. Yeah, like on average, recreations fold quite a lot there in this situation. My check fold with float bets is pretty high, especially on dry boards. Yeah, going to raise the jacks. Okay, Avenger folding the first hand. That's already good. Good sign. Okay, that's what I like. Hitting two pairs after checking. Definitely going for the check raise. Yeah, you can have the draws, the king. Queen is not a great card, but I still think we should go for value. I think we can even jam. Like if he has king six or something, it's getting in. With king nine, king eight, queen nine, queen eight, it is getting in anyways. The only thing what might be good with a normal bet is that if there's a jack or a 10 on the river, we might get away. But then the pot is also like super big. So I think it was just set up. Okay, so he might actually be some kind of regular. Queen four suited, not going to call with a 3x, but I'm going to do my notes. What's that? Sit out. Yeah, so he's 3xing. I think calling is fine. It really depends. I think on the twos, it might even be good to jam and we're getting called by ace, deuce, etc. And if he's folding, we are like taking 3 big blinds. That's also quite good. Both options are fine. Like just calling is okay as well. C betting. Just going all in, and here also just going all in. Getting called by a lot of those hands. And that's the setup. Also here, I like to bet, just protect. Like the gap is pretty high between the ace and the 7 and the deuce. So one big blind definitely calling. I think we're splitting quite often actually. 9-8. Okay. I think he should have. He could have bet bigger. I probably would have paid as well. 1 or 2 big blinds more. Raise and fold at the stack depths. Yeah, like readless, I'm raise folding, but very fast it can get a raise call. I think I check with 5 big blinds and hope he's doing some stupid stuff. Yeah, the 5 is a pretty bad card. Now I'm going to check and just value bet the river. Yeah, betting small. And now I'm just trying to go to showdown. If he has some busted draw, I think he's not even going to bet it. And king 5 is very bad call on the flop. It's to lose. Nil imported would be okay, but not in a raise pot. Okay, definitely c betting here. And one of the rare spots, I'm going for a second barrel. I'm not going to use the big sizing because I want to bet the river as well. He can have 8, 9, 10, 9, etc. He will call, and then he will check on the river, and I will fold them out. But now I don't have a value bet, and I'm still ahead with all of these hands, and the deuce I'm ahead as well. Yeah, exactly. So I'm betting the turn. I might get a couple of folds already on the turn, and on the river, if there's a blank, I'm trying to fold out the busted draws. Yeah, like this is like the second time he's rejamming, so I'm not going to fold the ace 8 at 17 or 18 big blinds. Okay, that went well. Back to fame and Adro Max. So 2 quite reggy names. Then recalling here and not folding here. And it's strong enough. I don't expect many second barrels here. If he's going to second barrel, then we have easy fold. Going to raise, call with him and fold with him. And just betting 1 big blind. This standard sizing on this kind of board structure with regulars. That's interesting. Like he shouldn't have. Yeah, I'm just going to fold. Like it's very hard actually for him to have a lot of value hands there. But yeah, I am not going to get into these kind of wars, especially not on the low stakes. Just leave it and might adapt if I see this player very, very often and I see a lot of these plays, then I might change my strategy. But other than that, I'm just c-betting 100% on this kind of board structure still. And also here, I'm just going to c-bet almost always. But if I see that he's check raising a lot, then I'll adapt my strategy. Okay. Interesting. That was not the turn where we should have leads, and that also didn't really make too much sense there, I think. Calling. Going to, yeah, if he's betting big, I'm not going to check call, but I think if he's betting small, I'm going for a check call here. And this is a good spot to lead, but my hand is a little bit, like if I would have a little bit stronger draw, I think the lead would be fine. But now with the back door, I think it's just a check and a fold. Like it would be hard going to second barrel there. Anyways. Also, like he seems to be quite aggressive, but it might still be just variance and good hands. So wouldn't be too worried. And yeah, after he's check calling once on the king, ace, king 7, I don't expect many fold equity. So just going to fold. It's not that he's going to check call with a super weak hand there, just to try to pick out the pot on the river. Like this is not something that's happening. Yep, check folding, not hitting well. And he, like, do I really want to get ISO jammed with the pocket force something loose? I don't think so. So just open jamming here, even though he is more on the looser side. King 9 is not really a good call in my opinion. At least, I mean, it's like a Nash call, but I think with population and on average, he like you just shouldn't make these kind of calls here on these takes. But I'm going to eyes all in here. This hand, and here on the river, I'm going to bet smallish. Okay, he's calling, then I think I'm ahead almost always. Yes, 2 pair, nice. Checking the 9-6, going for a check call. And check fold on the turn. That's interesting. If we are block betting, it's hard to get called by a lot of worse hands. Okay, so he's going, wow, like 2 to 5 with the pocket nines. If I'm jamming, it will be hard to get called by a lot of worse hands. I'm not sure if he's regular or not. Like if he's a reg on the 2s and he's in some kind of stable or whatever, it's like queens plus. So I will be very, very cautious here, just calling. And I'm even checking here on the turn, and then I decide on the river. If he's going all in, I'm definitely folding. If he's checking, I don't see many worse hands calling here, right? So but it's also some kind of free roll, right? Ace king suited. Okay, nice. Yeah, that was the hand I was betting against. One in the 9-5. And going for a check call. And I would call the turn as well. Like there's a lot of draws possible here. And I hope he's not bluffing the river, because I will fold on the river. Going to call here. And yeah, let's just fold. I like people on average not really continuing to bluff. Like bet is very rarely bluffed enough. Okay, he's betting 1.5. If he would have a 5, I don't think he would bet 1.5. I'm going to raise for value and get it in. Okay. He won that. Some questions? Suited. Looks like a call, but it isn't. Let's still try to limp. Like queen to suited is also a profitable open jam, like up to 7, but with like 6.15, I think we can still try to limp. And this flop structure, I don't really want to see bet. Too many natural jams at the stack depths, so just going to give up. All in. And raising here, 9-7 suited. And going for a bluff bet, double gut shot, always nice to have. Some additional equity. Okay, just going to call and then not folding. Doesn't look great, but we have a pair this short. I think we should raise here. A king is possible, but I still think like he's calling ace highs here for sure if I'm betting half pot. Yeah, I'm going to fold the river. Like I don't think he's bluffing 2 times here. It was more trappy. Like if he's checking back after he raised on the ace, ace 10-8, and it already looked quite trappy. Wow, 6-4 offsuit. Probably knew he would hit a 2-pair on the flop.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
In the hand where we had the 8-10 and we call the 3 big blind bet on the turn, he's only got like 6 big blinds behind. So that's going to further reduce any checkbacks, in my opinion. So what do you think about just folding on the turn? If we're not going to call the river, even on a blank river.
Yeah, but I just think they will just give up often enough. Right. So
even with such a shallow stack.
Yeah, I mean, why not? If he has the bluff, then on a turn he can still have all the bluffs, right? With the gotchas, etc. And on the river, normally they just think, okay, I don't have enough fold equity anymore, right? Because I just have 6 big blinds into like a relatively big pot. So and then they just give up bluffing quite often, I think. That's why I think like call turn and fold river is quite fine.
I'd understand that I like the 25s, but do you really think that they're considering like fold equity at the 2s?
It's nothing they need to consider. It's just like a feeling from the players will just not feel that I will fold.
Okay.
Right.
Like
so that's what I think. It might be like it depends a little bit on the player, of course, but yeah, like the 3 big blinds was also a little bit suspicious. Maybe it was more on the value heavy side. So if you're falling there on a turn, it's not that it's like a super heavy plus EV spot. But here, this is a very good plus EV spot. Definitely a good enough 7 here to value jump the river. I think this is a spot many people are missing. Yeah, but it's a very good question. I think you can do these kind of exploits sometimes. I just didn't thought it was a good fold on the turn with this player, like the last player, because he was already second barreling quite often, right? He was second barreling quite a lot.
Yeah, sure. No, it makes sense.
I was also a little bit tempted to call the river, to be honest, because he was thinking about like 2, 3, 4 seconds before jamming. So normally that's
the main reason why I asked the question, because my inclination there would be is to call the rivers, like given the stack size and the fact that it can be bullshit. But then like it wasn't exactly like he went one big blind. You know what I mean? He sized up on the turn, which is already
it was quite
unusual
big,
for the lower stakes players if they want to do a bluff, etc.
Yeah, I also don't think. Yeah, like I'm not sure if he's a recreational or not. I think he's just a little bit unexperienced regular or something. More on the aggressive side for sure. And here, what do we want to get value from now on the 5? We're splitting with other. Like this is a spot where I think we should just not value bet the river. Because we're splitting with weaker 8x's. Like if the 10 would be, if our queen would be live, I think I would value bet the river, on the right side. Yeah, like on the 10-8 hand, I think like probably all options have almost the same EV there. Like it's very hard to say and what kind of place your opponent is doing. Just open jamming here, checking, going for a check and call very likely. Yep. Check call, and now I'm going to check fold, especially with the 3 big blind sizing. We can't call. C-betting and hoping he's not jamming directly. folding here, even though it's a plus EV call, like Nash wise. I think we should almost always fold there with the Jack 10 and 8.88 big blinds open jam. Yeah, I'm going to raise directly here and get it in. Like he was leading quite often already, and he couldn't have very strong hands. Or with the ace jack, he also like leaded, where he didn't even have a pair or something. Okay, looks better than it actually is, but still a bet on the flop, and now I'm checking turn, and now we have a strong hand. Nice.